Hello everyone, it's Mary. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a video a little differently today where I'm going to actually walk you through step by step on how I made these cards, but I'm not actually going to be showing you the tutorial of each of them. I had these in my stash and I really wanted to pull them out and talk about some of the details of getting more use from your supplies, alternate ways to do things, and I thought this was going to be a kind of a succinct way to do that. I will be listing everything that I'm using for each card. The cards are numbered in the description box below, so you can check that out if you want to see those supplies up close, or if I have a corresponding video for that tutorial, it will be down in the description box below as well. So let's get into this, but before we do, I do want to remind you that if you haven't grabbed your free ticket for the stress-free summit coming up, stress-free card making summit, it's going to be holiday themed for this summit, and it's a weekend of just getting lots of ideas and lots of inspiration. It's free to attend. You can click that ticket below for the free ticket, register, get your spot, and we will see you there this weekend. Also, I'm doing a live this weekend for the summit, and so I'll see you on the Q&A if you are joining us. Okay, let's get into these cards. Okay, let's start with a couple simple designs. So on this one, kept it to black cardstock and stenciled on these ghosts with some embossing ink, poured some white embossing powder over it, and then I added the black dots. So that is something you want to consider. Where can I add some extra elements to my cards that wasn't already there for me? Just added some black dots, added a glitter boo right to the front, and then I put some white around here. This is a little bit of white pigment ink just to give it more of a shadowy look for the ghost theme. So that's the first card. So this card right here seems like it's just pretty simple, and it was simple to do, but it was using stencils in a different way. I put the stencil down and then I outlined the images with black marker. So I actually drew through the stencil like we used to when we were kids. And then once I had that finished, I could color it in. Now I made my stencil into a project where I can do coloring. And all I did for the ghost was add a little bit of alcohol marker here. And then I just colored very simply in the candy. Added a party sentiment, which is a die cut, to the front. You can also do a stamped image if you have, or stamped sentiment if you have a thicker type of writing. That would work out fine too. And this is just a very simple, kind of a clean and simple card, but using stencils in a different way. This is one of my favorite cards I've ever made. I don't know why, it's just so much fun. But how I did this was I first took a full panel and I used the stencil right on the front with color. So I did each different area color. So this was actually black. It comes out green once you put the embossing glitter paste over it, but this was purple, and then I think yellow, and so on and so forth. Once I had the first layer of color down, I then went back with the stencil and I put embossing paste, I think this is Moonstone, over it, and this is a Nouveau paste that has a glitter accent to it. So I got that, let it dried, then I used a die that cut out two pieces, so I actually made two cards. This is a great way to get multiple uses from one panel, but to also break up your image so that you can then put another focal point over on this side. Put a sentiment, did my little image down here, added a little alcohol markers to it just to give it some flair, and this card was finished. So this one was a lot of fun. And as a reminder, I will put everything I used in the description box below per card. This next one is super simple. I mean, I couldn't have made this more simple. This is actually pattern paper. The pattern paper comes from scrapbook.com, and I pulled this entire sheet out, cut it down, and then I used another pattern paper with the eyeballs on the back. That's my panel in the back, and then this is the front. And this already was designed for me. The only thing I did to add to it was I added some pops of color in the gold glitter, and I did that around the windows and the moon, and just to give some accent. So I'm going to see if you can see that up close. And this card was probably my fastest card, but it was so fun, and just a little hello Halloween to folks. This card's fun because it has a little wobbler on it. So I stenciled, this is a two-part stencil. I stenciled the back first. You have the solid images here. Then I went back over and I stenciled my eyes the second part of the stencil with black embossing paste. And so that was great. And then once I did that, I let it dry. I cut out, using an X-Acto knife, my little pumpkin here. You can add a sentiment anywhere you want, and I just love the wobbler action on it. It just makes it so much fun. So yeah, so that is the pumpkin card. I love this 2-part stencil. It's so much fun. Let's get into a little bit more of an intricate design. So for this design right here, what I did was I first masked off my moon, and I did that by cutting out a piece of masking paper. I use rock, paper, scissors removable adhesive or removable label paper, and it's way more cost effective if you haven't heard me talk about it. So I cut that out with a die, and then I placed my circle down. I colored in the rest. So when you're doing a moon scene, you want to start with the lighter purple, then a darker purple, then bring it out to blue. And then because the night sky is out here, I've just put some black soot around the edges. Once I had the color down, I went back in and I stamped all my images. So this right here, these two are stamped and they're solid images, and I stamped them with clear embossing powder, and then I used, I stamped them in black Nocturne from Versafine Claire, and then I used clear embossing powder to give this shine over the top of those images. So I'm going to show you what that looks like when I can get, there we go, see that? So those are shiny images because I used clear embossing powder over them. Over here, this is just a regular stamped image. I think, no, actually, you know what? I clear embossed all of them. They're all embossed. Yeah, so every single one of them. And I did them all at once. Put my sentiment right in the center, and then that is it. So that's a fun Slimline card. I love this card because this is like one of my first takes at like a multimedia kind of thing, which I don't do very often, but when I do sit down and have fun with it, it's always a blast. But right here, I made some really fun backgrounds with Distress Oxide ink, and I have one. No, that's alcohol. So this is with Distress Oxide ink first. Then I went back in and with a stamp, I believe this was a long time ago, but this is either a stamp or a stencil, the gold, and I added those accents as well, but this is definitely embossing powder, so I don't know if I did a stencil with embossing ink or if I stamped that. But I did that, and I got this really fun background, and it's like, again, I'm geeking out because I don't do mixed media, not multimedia. It's mixed media. I don't do it very often, but this is fun. I love this font in these alphabets, so I stamped those out of an alcohol sheet that I did with these colors. So right here is the background where I got the letters. So I die cut my alphabet letters out of here, and I was able to make 2 cards because I had the alcohol background here, and then I had this one for using the positives of the letters. So those 2 cards were a lot of fun. I added some bats on here, which quite honestly, I don't think you need to do that. I think that might be a little overkill because I love this gold, black, alcohol inked background. And this is also a really good background for, say, New Year's cards. So that's really fun too. I love that theme. So yeah, so those are my 2 kind of mixed media cards. This card I did recently in a foil hack video. I love the abstract look of this card. I took some pattern paper, added a little bit of that cloud with some white pigment ink. So I used some pigment ink there. But I really don't want to go into too much length talking about how I did the foiling. I have a video for that. But I basically used my heat gun with already having it embossed with embossing powder and remelted it and then put the foil over it. And so that is the look I got here. So this one was really fun with the foiling accent on it. This is a very simple card, and again, utilizing my pattern paper, I pulled this out and cut a circle through it. And then on the panel of this card, on the back side, all I did was stamp these 2 images, do a little bit of coloring. I have a little bit of a purple shade here, a little bit of kind of a gray down here. Added pops of color to the hat and the cheeks, and then I just placed it over. So this is a great way to kind of reverse your card making of using the pattern paper as the top, but cutting images or holes through it, and then having your focal point on the back. And then I had this popped up right here, this Happy Spooky Season, right on the front. So that's another idea for a card. And similarly, I did one like this on this card. So love this card. This was so much fun to make. I actually did the stenciling in 2 different ways, which again is a great idea if you want to kind of get more use out of your tools, but then also bring it to life in a different way. So the first thing I did was I stenciled the background of the bats in regular black ink. Then I flipped over my, no, I don't think I flipped over my stencil. I think I just shifted my stencil on this one. And I used some of that embossing paste as well right here. This way I have bats all over the back of the card, but they're different. They're not just all black ink. And so let me show you a close-up of that so you can see right there. You can see sort of it has like a greenish hue to it. I love that stuff. And then I did the same thing. I cut a circle once it was dried, cut a circle through the back, added my thanks right at the bottom. I thought thanks was a fun Halloween card to make because I don't always like to send celebratory Halloween cards because not everybody does. And so I like to also send thanks cards throughout the year, and this is just a great theme for this time of year. I have my bat here. I die cut him out or fussy cut him, I can't remember, and then added a little purple pops of color to his little bow tie. Added some pops of color right here or stickles right to the edge to make the thanks pop. And then on the background, this is on the card panel, I did a little bit of ink blending to make it look like the moon. So yeah, so that was the card. Well, that does it for my demo on some of my Halloween cards. Let me know which one's your favorite, and if you have any questions at all below, or if you would like to see me recreate a specific card, I can do that if I don't have a video for it already. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the comments down below and in the next video. Bye-bye.